This is Ruby Ojha from SNDT Women's University, Department of Economics. We are going to study together the globalization and women, which is module 1 of paper 2 of this course. Objective of this course is to study how the globalization in any society is affecting women, their status and the activities in which they are involved, the economic activities in which women are involved, how they are affected under the globalization regime. Globalization refers to the integration of nation states, technology, markets, and it means that all the corporations, individuals and markets, they are coming together at a very fast pace which was not experienced before. Globalization also means that the enterprises or private enterprises should be free from any control by the government. There should not be any price control. There should be free movement of capital, labor and goods among the nations. All this freedom brings all the states, all the nation states very close, and this is how we call a globalized world, a globalized village. Just like in a village, we have all the activities which are integrated. In a globalized society also, all the activities are integrated and they are depending on each other and they are very closely connected. Government also cannot have any kind of control under globalization. Trade and investment movement, that is also free. Exports and imports and investment of one nation in another nation, that is also kept free under globalization. So this is what we mean by globalization, and we are also going to see how it affects women in particular. When we look at globalization and its impact from gender perspective, we can say that globalization is a free play of market forces and which make women very vulnerable in product market as well as in labor market. In labor market, they don't get right kind of work and wages, there is discrimination, there is feminization of labor, and in goods market, in the product market, they are not able to work properly both as a buyer or a seller. Relative invisibility in work and labor market for women increases because most of the work is given to male workers. Very low women work participation rate indicates that women are not engaged in mainstream work, rather they are working behind the curtain. They are engaged at family level, they are doing many such things where they are not paid. So it is not recorded properly that they are working for which this is the remuneration which they are getting. So this is how their participation in workforce is registered very less. When we look at the impact of globalization on women, we find that globalization has affected activities of women, economic activities of women in both ways, positively and negatively. From the point of view of positive experience of women under globalization, we can say that the number of women employed has increased after the opening up of the economies and after the globalization era. But when we look at the quality of work which they are doing, then there are certain doubts which come in our mind. Trade liberalization has created 60 to 90% more jobs in clothing, food supply chain and IT sectors. It has opened up many niches for women where they can go and work and earn their livelihood. So, total number of women employed that has increased as a result of globalization. Advantages like working from home, flexi hours, less physical hardship and good ambience, that is also the advantages of globalization which women are enjoying. But when we look at the negative side of the experience as a result of globalization, we can see that the first victim of downsizing and rationalization of workforce is women. They become victims because when the retrenchment starts, when the requirement of retrenchment is there in any company as a result of mechanization, and they are required to reduce the labor force, women are the first victims. Exploitation of women is there through retrenchment, through increase in contractual or subcontractual workforce. So, there are very few women who are appointed on a regular basis. Mostly they are on contractual terms. Regarding the negative experience of women as a result of globalization, when we look at the indicators, for example, declining workforce participation rate or casual employment status or number of women in unorganized sector or increase in girl child labor, feminization of labor or discriminatory low income for women. These indicators suggest that women are adversely affected as a result of globalization. The process of globalization has not actually been very beneficial to them. Special economic zones, export processing zones, export oriented units and free trade zones, these are the geographical locations which are designed especially for particular type of production, mainly production of those commodities which are exported from the country to some other countries. So, these export oriented zones are designed because the basic idea behind having such zones is that export will increase, more and more export will lead to more and more growth, and as a result of increase in exports, economic growth will take place in any country, and which is many East Asian countries realize this type of growth as a result of increase in their exports. That is called export-led growth in economics. These export zones are clusters that bring together the different industrial or production units which are producing similar product. Mostly they are the products which are being exported to different countries. In these zones, there are some facilities are provided by the government. For example, economic laws are very liberal in these zones. Spaces with good infrastructure and facilities and simplified procedures are there to assist the industrialists in these zones. Creation of these zones or emergence of these zones is also one of the reasons to attract more and more foreign investment. Foreign investment, when it comes to these zones, these multinational corporations, they produce commodities, they bring in with their investment their technology and their technique of production as well as marketing. And as a result of this increased investment in these zones, the total GDP also is expected to grow. So these special economic zones are created to provide special facilities to these producers who are thought to be contributing more and more in economic development of the country. Tax breaks are there in these zones. Highly subsidized land is provided for construction of buildings and infrastructure in these economic zones. Little or no compulsory worker protection is given to encourage the private investment and to achieve the rapid industrialization through exports. The SEZ Act was passed in 2005 in India. In Parliament this was discussed, and in May 2005 the Act was passed in India to have more and more special economic zones. These special economic zones are considered tax havens. Tax havens means that no income tax is there during first 5 years of establishment of any production unit in these zones, and also only 50% of the tax liability is there in next 2 years. Under the new policy, for 10 years the tax exemption is given to the producers in these economic zones. Any law related to labor that is not compulsory in this economic zone. So these tax holidays and relaxation in labor laws, that creates a condition where more and more foreign investment is attracted and more industrialists are attracted to have their units in such zones, and exports of any country increases, which results in higher economic growth. These incentives help the industrialist in making profit and attracting foreign investment, but there is a cost involved, and this cost is in terms of cost of local people, food security, social security, environment, and the real development of the country. This superficial development of the country, which results in increasing the numbers, for example GDP rate and percentages, the indicators we can see that that there is an improvement in the indicators numbers, indicators value, but we can see that the real growth is not taking place. Actually people are not happy in these zones. So whatever development takes place, it is at the cost of the social security and the job security and many development indicators in real terms. Union activities are completely not allowed in these economic zones at the cost of people. The capital rules in these economic zones, that can be said, and labor in all countries faces very bad hardship, and SEZs are declared as public utility services, which have paralyzed union activities in these zones. So government is trying to have different types of strategies to uh, control the activities in special economic zones. No union activities are there, and it is also found in many studies, it is indicated that many rules and regulations which are there in special economic zones, they are violated very often, and this violation of rules and regulations, there is no union which can raise any voice. So major share of the workforce in special economic zones is women. Ultimately, whatever these laborers and human beings who are working in special economic zones or export oriented zones are facing, they are women. So we can say that as a result of globalization in special economic zones or export oriented zones, women are exploited to a great extent. Employment of adult women is decreasing over the years, and the work schedules are such which can be performed by anybody when the person is very young and healthy. So over the globalization era, we have also witnessed that number of senior women, that the number of elderly women is declining, and the number of young and even child labor is increasing. Highly exploited with forced night shift, no conveyance, no maternity leave, termination of jobs when pregnant, sexual harassment, denial of rights to organize, and no scope for collective bargaining and low wages. These are the ways in which these women are exploited badly in export oriented zones. In this profit driven growth, we can say that in the process of globalization, there is no decent livelihood possible for these women who are working in special economic zones. One of the offshoots of globalization is business process outsourcing and knowledge process outsourcing, BPOs and KPOs. They are the offshoot of globalization, and here also most of the workers are women, especially young women, and because just after completing their education, graduation or even below graduation level of education, they are engaged in BPOs and APOs. They are ready to go for night shifts, they are ready to go for work at any time during the day or night. So these women are also not very happily employed in these BPOs and KPOs. In this occupational structure, while educated English speaking women have benefited with opening of new jobs in information technology, but in general the rural women, those women who are not having good education, who don't have the advantage of being brought up in that kind of social structure which is required for getting job in BPOs and KPOs, they are not getting any advantage. This again is confined to the subset of urban women. Technology disassociates paid work from hard manual labor. That is also one of the advantages of working in BPOs and KPOs. Ambience is very good. There is no hard work. There is no slogging in that kind of work. Only they are talking over phone, they are busy on computers, and they are getting well paid. They are getting good facilities also, mostly pick up from home and drop facility by the organizers of the activity, and also tea breaks and other snacks and all that which they require at different from time to time. One advantage of women working in IT sector in BPOs and KPOs is that their image has changed. Now the society knows that women also can handle this kind of work, they can also handle technology, they can also work in IT sector. So they have proved themselves that they can do any technology oriented work also. So that advantage is there. Women have that privileged, women are that privileged class which are likely to reap advantage of BPOs and KPOs if they are if they have studied in English medium and they have urban environment. In IT sector there is one more disadvantage which women is facing is glass ceiling, that is most talked about. Glass ceiling is that they cannot rise above a certain level. They cannot become bosses, they remain workers only. After a certain level only men are given the higher posts and women are not promoted. This is not very clearly expressed, this is not a written rule, but this is understood very clearly when you see the trend. So the trend shows that women are facing glass ceiling in IT sector. Impact of globalization on women in agricultural sector section also is very important, because in agriculture more than 60% women are employed. Agriculture sector is the most important sector of India and it gives employment to very large number of men and women, and its contribution in GDP is declining over the years, but number of men and women who are supported by this sector, that has not decreased. So the importance of this sector lies in providing employment. Now what is the level, what is the quality of employment which the agriculture sector is providing? Productivity of these individuals is very low, sometimes zero and even negative sometimes. It has become capital intensive and technology sensitive. The agricultural sector over the years after globalization era has become technology sensitive and capital intensive. Earlier it was known for being labor intensive and more laborers were being absorbed in this sector. But now here also capital has started playing its role, and agriculture and rural economy are adversely affected due to neoliberal policies in many ways. Removal of all quantitative restrictions, quota system which was there in export and import. Countries used to, quota used to be fixed for the countries that this much they can export and against that how much they can import. That quota system has completely gone, and this quota system was mainly in agricultural products. So this has adversely affected the agricultural exports. Then removal of slashing of import subsidies also has gone after globalization. There is lowering of import duties for agricultural products. Collapse of institutional credit also is there. Institutional agricultural sector is mostly depending on the Mahajans and money lenders, but institutional setup which was there to support the agricultural workers, that has not worked well and that has actually not supported them properly. That is also one of the reasons that their old traditional system is gone without the new system properly being in place. So that is also one of the disadvantages of globalization. with reference to agricultural sector. Near absence of public investment is there in agricultural sector. Earlier, a lot of investment, a large amount of investment from public sector used to be there on irrigation facilities, on rural electrification and on things like that which are required for agricultural sector, but now all that is being cut down deliberately. So, in rural areas this kind of investment from the government side is really lacking. Reduction in rural development expenditure by the government, weakening of the public distribution system, decline in allocation for agricultural research and extension. Worst hit are the agricultural workers and the rural poor, especially women, in this process of globalization, which has adversely affected agricultural sector in so many ways. Due to low returns in agriculture nowadays, men are moving out, they are migrating for some other jobs to some other areas, and now it's women who are actually facing the problems in the agricultural sector in rural areas because they are managing the business. Due to difficulties which women are facing in agricultural sector, they are also getting less wages, discriminatory wages, and children and women, they are employed more and more to keep the cost of production low. Not only women in agricultural sector or children, they are adversely affected, but tribal people are also very badly affected as a result of globalization. Adivasis have been tenant farmers, and after the passing of the tenancy law, the land which they were tilling, that became their own land. So, in most of the areas, tribal people, they were holding large size of land. Now, hundreds of acres of land is being sold to the MNCs or it is being leased out. Coca-Cola is a good example. In Wada Taluka of Thana district, a large size of land is given to that company. Even water is given free of cost, and this is adversely affecting the local, the needs of the local people. Now that land on which these people were cultivating the crop which they needed for their livelihood, they are not able to do that, and now they are depending on the market. They are just getting money for their land which they are leasing out or they are selling, and that money they are using or misusing or wasting, but they are totally dependent on the market for their food and for their livelihood. The state government is inviting multinationals in these areas and non-resident Indians for improving the facilities of tourism, mining, filmmaking, mineral, paper industry, wood based industry and agro based industries in these areas. That is also completely killing the local texture of the living in that area. As an overview of the whole module, we can say that globalization works in the opposite direction of what was envisaged as a sustenance approach by the planners and the policy makers. So we can say that the policies are very good, but they are implemented in such a way which is not actually increasing the welfare of the people, but they are just increasing the data. We can just see the growth in graphs and data, but not in terms of real improvement in the standard of living or real improvement in the quality of life. So this is what the process of globalization is bringing to us, and especially to women. Due to structural reforms, women are working under hazardous conditions. with a lot of insecurity because of individual contracts and low wages. This kind of insecurity brings in very high level of pressure in their minds. They are not secured, they are not feeling secured. Today, whatever employment or whatever facilities they are getting, whether they will be there tomorrow, so they are living under uncertain conditions, which creates a lot of mental pressure in these women. Even in employment guarantee scheme, which is run by the government, which is a government scheme, there also when we see discrimination, wage discrimination, men are getting more and women are getting less wages, then we become very apprehensive about what government is actually expecting out of these policies and implementation of these policies. Designing gender sensitive policies that ensure equitable and intra-household distribution of benefits, they are actually required at this time, and women can be empowered through intervention aimed at building entrepreneurial skills. So, the current government, which is working on improving the skill development of youth and which is providing many facilities for improving the skills of people, that is actually going to be helpful, but at present its implementation, its fruits are yet to be seen. The policies are at very initial stages. Information and training also is very important. So, training institutes, and it should also be seen that originally these women, whatever skill they are having, whatever traditional skill which they are having, that should be nurtured, and that should be they should be able to use that skill for making their life more their life better. In the last, we can say that globalization needs to have a human face, and we have seen that it has the policies which are prepared by the government, they have a lot of potential, but the implementation part should be there, and that should be taken care of properly, and it should have a human face, especially for women who are working in special economic zones, tribal women, rural women, because they are the base, they provide the proper base and proper texture of the society, depends on how the women are treated in any society.